Well, today is a momentous day in Austin FC history.
How so, Phil?
Finally got a player in the World Cup.
Emergency podcast. Better did a thing, so we gotta talk about it. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency. Emergency podcast. Shut up, oh yeah, shut up, oh yeah, shut up. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency.
Hey, hearty hello to you all, and welcome to Emergency Podcast, the Austin FC podcast, where we talk about all the Austin FC emergencies. And wow, got home from vacation in New York City, and Jayden Nelson has made the Canadian national team finally after some unfortunate injuries and a very good audition that happened a week ago yesterday. And then today, we got a Jim Curtin press conference introducing himself as Austin FC's new head coach. News I learned when I was sitting at the gate in LaGuardia Airport waiting to get home from New York City. Had an opportune 45 minutes to bang out a story. Fortunately, we had done some stuff earlier in the week, which had talked about how Curtin would be a really good coach for this team based on his points per game average. Moisés, it has been a wild ride this week. How are you doing? Unfortunately, you could not be in New York City to witness K-pop greatness with me, but pretty great couple of days to be an Austin FC fan.
Man, I tell you what, I've put it this way to friends and close acquaintances in recent hours, not just days, but it feels to me like if you look at the history of his hire at Philadelphia Union, when he got hired, he was this young guy, little experience. What are they doing? What is this guy going to do? And I feel like in an alternate reality where everything with Josh Wolf had gone completely differently, I think that ownership's hopes for Josh Wolf were that he was going to be our Jim Curtin. I think that's the way that they saw it going in. Okay. And that's very much,
that makes sense.
I mean, that's how they built it. You were there for all of this. I was watching it much more from the outside looking in. You were hearing the hopes and dreams and aspirations and everything, and were much more dialed in at the time. But correct me if I'm wrong. It feels to me like what they were hoping for was, can we get just alternate brand, but same story, Jim Curtin? That's what they were really hoping for, was a young, untested voice that had MLS experience, that was a known figure in U.S. soccer circles, and that was dedicated to the game like nothing else. We all saw what happened to Josh Wolf, and when things were getting dire with Josh, that was in the same season as Philly, to many of us, inexplicably, let go a two-time Coach of the Year winner. And this is the secret I've been keeping, and we'll probably allude to some other stuff. Since the Union dropped Jim Curtin, I've been going, oh God, I wish there were a way for Austin to get Jim Curtin. Because that's the right temperament, it's the right track record, it's the right vibe, it's the right kind of connection to a fan base.
Yeah.
As you pined for Wilfred Nancy, I pined for a guy who cheers go Eagles go. Contrary to what many of my fellow home state and hometown Dallas friends would have to say as dedicated Cowboys fans, which I'm not one of, because I don't care about that sport. I care about the real game of football. I touched on this in my press conference question to him, the first one. The year after Austin FC2 won MLS Next Pro Cup, I went to the next year's MLS Next Pro Cup game because it was up in Arlington, because it was between North Texas SC and Philadelphia Union 2. And Jim had relatively recently been let go. And the coach of Philly 2, Marlon LeBlanc, who also got let go after that season, Marlon had worked alongside Jim for 4 years. And I asked this question in a post-match press conference to the losing coach of a cup final, knowing that he and his players on that second team had gone through the death of a player, which is
that's
like absolute tragedy stuff. And I didn't go into that depth in today's press conference, but I knew that Jim would connect to what that year meant to Marlon and what that year meant to him. And I wanted to just kind of, there's asking a question to ask a question, and there's asking a question to kind of set a reference point for future reference. I think that there's something special and long-term about this. It's not just a good coach for the next couple of years. It's provided this works out, provided everything works the way that it really looks like it's going to. This is a guy who could very, very easily be here for 10 years.
I mean, he was in Philly. Like, I mean, it's definitely, he talked about culture today. It seems like he could redux that. It could be the way Schmetzer is at Seattle. It could be, this kind of long-term hire. Absolutely. So one thing, so I thought it was interesting that you mentioned Josh Wolf and the hopes there. There's one kind of difference that really struck me in today's press conference from the first time that I talked to this one. There are others, but this one in particular. So when I sat down and talked to Josh Wolf at length when he first got hired, we had a conversation about a half hour, 45 minutes at the Hotel Van Zandt right after the introductory press conference. They had arranged sit downs. Josh was very high-minded. He was very much talking about, here's this beautiful way that I want to play soccer in MLS, essentially, talking about dispossessing players with the ball and just all the kind of possession-based things that Wolf tried to implement, but clearly never really had the players to execute that, and then never really adjusted to coaching in MLS as a head coach. And whereas I thought Josh was very idealistic about how to approach that, Curtin to me seems very pragmatic. This is somebody who actually knows how to coach in MLS. He's got great ideas. He's definitely thoughtful. He's definitely methodical in the way that I think Estevez was, but he's also had it battle tested in a way that has worked and said some very interesting specific things about how he wants to play with a specificity that we haven't really had from either Wolf or Estevez. So that got me very, very excited. And of course, he was, as I am, my brand sometimes being a downer with numbers. He had some stats that were not particularly flattering to Austin FC at the ready to talk about some things that needed to be improved. So as soon as he was talking about that, I perked up and was instantly, again, smitten. I've interviewed him before. He's great. He was one of my favorite coaches back in the day when I was doing stuff for MLS and I was interviewing multiple teams in the league. And again, this was times that were predating and then as Austin was coming into the league. So definitely got a perspective beyond just what was going on in Austin at the time. And just the respect around the league for him was palpable and clear. And just from the early kind of reports from the punditry, people definitely feel that we are lucky and have made a good hire. And Dallas fans in particular seem particularly irked that this is happening, which is another bonus.
If Dallas were a more attractive destination, the thing you keyed in on,
as it turns out,
well, the thing you keyed in on there for a sec was what I like to refer to as the Phil Westian inconvenient but completely true stats, and him rattling off not just one or two or talking in platitudes about it or generalities or trying to be too nice about things, him going directly after those issues that we have honed in on. Press conference after press conference, post-match write-up after post-match write-up, in search of things to do outside of having spectacular soccer to write about and talk about. It's great to me that didn't just land for me, but it seems to have landed for everybody who's watched the press conference since it was posted mid-afternoon. It gets you 11 men who can do both, as you put in your write-up. That emphasis early on about everybody attacking, everybody defending, some of the stuff that you can read certain stats, certain ways to see, as we have said, Mircea Uzuni in 2026 is different than Mircea Uzuni 2025. And one of the big ways is putting in the effort for his price tag, the way that we've seen some of his teammates not. And whether the club sticks with him as part of the long-term project or not, that the coach is just getting out in front and going, if you're not here 100%, then you don't need to be here. And flatly getting into some of that kind of motivation stuff, I think is really interesting. And Jim having the benefit of not being brought in as something of a bruised asset the way that Nico was. I think that is something that handicapped things for him out of the gate, such that he was a bit more beholden to the overbearing, not used as a pejorative, just used as an accurate assessment of the way that Roto liked to run things, an overbearing sporting director who had a very particular mindset of who was calling the shots. That Jim went through that experience with Ernst Tanner, and we saw just within the last week, it seems that Ernst Tanner is not bending over backward to get back to the union and do the required make good stuff HR-wise. Mm-hmm. Seeing that Jim is very clear about what he wants to spend his time doing, how he wants to spend his time contributing to MLS and to soccer in general. As he said, he had European offers in addition to MLS. He chose this. This was not the job he could get that he could make work. This was a purpose-made choice that, look, let me gloat on us a little bit. It feels good to have been the ones doubted in the way that people have doubted Austin's players in the past.
Sure.
Where we said, this ownership group is very serious about Jim Curtin. We think, we knew. And seeing the reactions from people where it couldn't be true. We're not allowed to be this happy following Austin FC. There's got to be a catch. Well, I mean, the catch is he won't be here for 6 months. But I honestly felt buoyed by the stuff that he said, even if a certain amount of it was PR speak about, I've never seen Davy punt, and there's no reason to, think that the 2026 season is a foregone conclusion, that kind of thing. It sounds like for whatever actual reasons, contractual reasons, legal reasons, personal reasons, it could be a burger of all three of them. I have no illusions whatsoever that he isn't completely focused on Austin as a project. And without getting in Davy's way or stepping on toes, he is doing everything possible to build this club for war under Davy for the next 6 months, and for a warm handoff for him to take the baton in December. Not just the hire, but the way that he has gone about his first 24 hours in the post could not possibly have more confidence in this guy.
Yeah. I did have a nice text exchange with Matt Doyle about the situation. He thinks that this is going to work out very well for us, actually. So he's
Lord Doyle?
Yes.
Lord Doyle?
All we had to do was dramatically get rid of Rodolfo Borrell and hire the coach that everybody in MLS wanted, right? So
yeah.
So, and again, that's the thing. He had the offer from Portland. I'm sure there were other offers that were in there. We know that Atlanta was in the mix at one point for him, which at the time might have been in a way a more attractive job than Austin circa 2026. But he really does seem to believe in the potential of this roster from what he was telling us. And again, some of that might just be, again, it is the first day. It is new. He is being optimistic about things, but definitely being pragmatic in a way that, again, I found really reassuring, really heartening, and really made me excited about this because, again, we've had different approaches to coaching, and I've gotten along well with Josh. I've gotten along well with Nico. They've had some interesting insights at points. But to me, this seemed like kind of in this first press conference, the most incisive, the most kind of prescriptive sort of analysis of what the team needs, what he's stepping into, what he can realistically achieve. And I think that was really interesting. So I do want to get into this. So he had talked about some guiding philosophies, like apparently later, once he's here, we'll get a chance to talk to him a little bit more about formation and tactics. And once he figures out the roster a little bit more and what he's got and what the summer window might bring. But he had some principles that he talked about, which are in the article, which went up on Verde All Day about 6 p.m. here on Tuesday night, last night, as you were listening to this. First of all, this idea of being compact, right? So talking about from Brandon Vasquez to our center backs, which is interesting. So obviously his peg Vasquez is starting number 9. He says it's going to be 30 to 35 yards maximum among the players at all times. He talks about teams being a little too stretched and open in MLS, something we have certainly seen in past iterations of Verde, right? And so he talks about being a big believer in being compact. Players are closer to each other to help each other. We want to win balls and get to goal as quickly as possible, score as many goals as possible, create as much excitement for the fans as possible. So the good thing about this is that it is a defense first perspective, but there is this kind of offensive perspective around it, that if you press and make good things happen, then you can create this break, and you're still doing things in a way where the team is organized, even if the team is, in Austin's case, especially using its speed, right? So I think at this point, Nelson and Rosales and Torres, they all have license to go forward, but at the same time, they have to think about this organization. And to me, this also says that we are going to see a lot more of Rosales as a fullback, that this midfield experiment might be a thing of Nico Estevez. I mean, again, I'm reading into this a little bit, but do you have any thoughts about this particular point here? Because I thought this was a really interesting, just kind of foundational thing that he started with.
I mean, there's a certain cadre of folks, yourself, I think you're the captain of this team, who are like just not going to be appeased until Joseph Rosales plays exclusively left back. And like when you wanted Wilfred Nancy to coach, I want your dreams to come true, Phil. I want you to be happy, but I don't know that I would go so far as to assume that that's definitely what's in the cards, because I think the positional flexibility of Joseph Rosales is something that plays well in MLS. And as much as folks would want to ascribe just the greatest tactical sin of all time to Nico Estevez on that front, I think he might have been onto something. Does that mean that in ideal situations, he is playing a position other than left back as frequently as Joseph Rosales has been? No, I don't think so. But the team was so loaded with left backs, and we don't know those privileged conversations that happen behind the scenes of who was calling which shots necessarily. It's difficult for me to even entirely blame that on Nico at this point, knowing what we know now. I think the fresh, clean slate that Jim has to work with whatever this roster looks like in December, because not only are we going into this summer window where we assume not a whole ton is going to happen, but as we approach a winter window when the club has a new sporting director, who knows what this team's going to look like in that transfer window in advance of the sprint season in the first place. A lot of stuff might stay the same, but there is a competitive advantage to having a coach of Jim's magnitude coming in 6 months and having him not doing the day-to-day such that ideal additional pieces to come in and move certain existing pieces out for. It's too easy to say, well, forget the remainder of 2026. The rest of this season is going to be a slobber knocker, to use the wrestling terminology for it, for every team in the league. And I think it's going to get down, it's going to get dirty, and with the full faith and confidence of the new head coach, Davy Arnaud's got revenge on his mind, and I cannot wait to see what interim Davy Arnaud with more runway to run with, and having the established relationship with all of these players, having gone through the first half of the season that he has. I think Austin is set up for an alternate reality competitive advantage we couldn't have expected going into this coach search, where Joseph Rosales, I think, is definitely still on this team going into the sprint season in 27. To me, the question is who else is, and how radically the team lineup is going to change by then. That's where my head's at. And I think, kind of to a point Jim raised, he was like, look, that sprint season is a great opportunity to try crazy things. I don't know, 4-2-4, don't quote me on that. And then we all quoted him on that. I think I've got to take him at his word there and go, maybe don't assume that we know exactly what the plan is going to be, and that there's an easy turnkey. Well, if I were playing FIFA, to EAFC, I'm going to keep calling it FIFA. I don't care. EA Sports. I don't think it's quite that simple. And I think it's good that it isn't that simple. It's good that he's got his hit list of immediate things. You mentioned him bringing up Brandon Vasquez, Owen Wolf also coming back from significant injury. He's thinking in depth about every single spot on the senior and supplemental rosters, and how he can make use of every part of that roster to be the most lethal humanly possible going into 27 and 27-28.
I just don't know though that Curtin like is going to be like Estevez in terms of, oh, let's have everybody play 5 positions. I kind of feel like he's going to be more defined and regimented in terms of you do these things and you do these things well, so you should exclusively do these things.
And I don't disagree. I'm just saying, let's see what the roster actually looks like when he's bolting things down into that setting. But he's got more freedom to actually do that than the setup that Nico had, where he had a coach for life who told people that I'm never getting fired. And then I got fired.
Until you did.
Until you did. Yeah. Having a coach for lifestyle sporting director, kind of like Ernst Tanner, above him, I think there's a lot of pragmatism in everything that we heard. He mentioned, he's not looking to completely clean house. Some people may want to move on. Some people may have better opportunities. Hey, who knows? Dynamo might let go of Ben Olsen and Davy could fit in like a glove at Houston, which would be devastating if he's actually good at Houston.
But also maybe that is the preordained path for him.
Maybe.
Given that he was
there. But to take it from the Andy Loughnane interview that Moontower got, Andy's really high on Davy sticking around. And I don't know that Andy would say that in an interview recorded the day of the new coach hiring if that wasn't something that his new coach was also in line with. It'd be a really weird thing for a club president to say something like that, that he knew his new head coach wasn't on board with. So, I mean...
Yeah, I don't know if it was too pejorative to call him the butler that comes with the house, but that was the phrase that came to mind.
That's the Westian way. What I'd like to see is this kind of stacking the deck and a team of overqualified individuals in important places. Davy Arnaud may very well have the interest and ambition and quality to be a head coach in MLS, but if he really likes being here and wants to be the man-at-arms to Jim Curtin's He-Man and wield a heavy mace, if he's doing a good job and the incoming coach likes the guy, that kind of energy is good. We've talked about how Minnesota has various former MLS head coaches as assistant coaches.
Right.
It would be great to see Jim employ a similar plan. And it sounds like that's the energy that he's got, is let me make the best choices that I can make, not because other people are telling me thus and so, I want you to do this. I feel like I can take at face value him and Andy saying that the initial conversations between Jim and Precourt and Jim and Andy were they were already on various of the same pages of there is no reason to blow up people's lives and cause more chaos than a coach and sporting director firing already causes when it comes to taking the best pieces of what's already here and letting them keep working and keep bolting on upgrades and bringing in upgrades, down the line. But there is no reason to just clean house when there are a lot of experienced, sharp people here, which the previous sporting director apparently didn't think was a priority when he came in, because he did just clean house.
Maybe you bring Nico Bosch back.
Nico Bosch, He
did talk about set pieces and we talked about restarts. Yeah, let's get into some of the other stuff here that he talked about before we get into the 3 Rs. So the 11 players playing offense and defense, that's typical MLS speak. But what really impressed me about what Curtin said here is what he said afterwards. He said everybody has to be fully committed on that. So that's obviously clearly, yes, you buy in, you play defense, you play offense, blah, blah, blah. But then what he said, really interesting. And what you'll see is when strikers work the tails off defensively, all of a sudden they get the easy goals and the tap-ins. And we win the ball higher up the field, closer to our goal. And it becomes, I don't want to say easy because scoring is difficult, but we'll create a lot of chances and be very dangerous as a group. And then he talks about anytime a team plays a negative pass against Austin FC, we'll press that pass. It will be clear from the stands. You guys will see it in the press box. That'll be 100% non-negotiable, which I'm totally excited to watch now. So thank you for giving me some viewing notes there, Jim. If they play negative, we are coming at you. We're going towards your goal to win the ball back. Any straight pass to the midfield, you'll see us as well. We will press that pass defensively now. When a ball goes past you, there has to be a recovery sprint. We can measure that through analytics and data. There's nowhere to hide, so we'll keep a tight eye on that. I love this. You are going to be accountable. We have data. We can prove this, and we're going to play this certain way. And yes, you are going to run, but you're going to run purposely. You're going to run for reasons. You're not going to just run for running's sake. And grind yourself into dust in 18 months, Bradley
Yeah.
Carnell teams, right? So there's definitely a idea about we are running with purpose to achieve certain things in certain game situations, which I love.
Can you imagine what it's been like for Jim watching what Bradley Carnell has done to his glorious hot rod that is the Philly Union? I felt like there was some of that energy coming off of him where he's made peace with the fact that what he did at Philly is in the past. The past is the past. But by God, he is not going to let anything be misinterpreted or misunderstood about his intent, about the ways he expects to be accountable from day one, and just how much use he's going to make of the 6 months he has ahead of him before officially taking the reins as coach. And
I do think that's interesting that he's going to coordinate with Davy, but let Davy do his thing. But at the same time, he's not going to sit idly by. He's thinking about this team, like you said, from the moment he gets up to the moment he goes to sleep. He is an Austin FC head coach, even though he's not physically here for the 6 months, which again, yeah, I'm fine waiting like this. This has been such a weird season already that why not this?
The way that he talked around ownership, management wanted him to go ahead and come in. So let's say hypothetically, if his exit deal with Philly required him to not take another job or forfeit the entire garden leave period of his salary, I have no doubt whatsoever that Austin ownership would have gladly ponied up for whatever that money difference is. I don't think that that's the deal at all. Yeah. I think a piece of it is there's the personal reason stuff. He mentioned that his dad went in for cancer infusion the morning. So a piece of it. And another piece of it is the rhythm of getting the decks properly swabbed and getting things properly set up, where it feels to me like he feels it is less disruptive, and the players are already comfortable with Davy. They were expecting to continue to be coached by Davy, building that sort of continuity. I would like to believe that this is his first wise move, and we'll see how it goes over the next 6 months. Right?
Sure.
That's one of the first flags that he planted that wasn't based in stats and wasn't based in that kind of stuff. It sounds very much to take him at his word. This was his decision to do it this way. And based on everything he said, it was almost out of your mouth, out of various of our mouths after various games where it's, why is this? Why do people not fear coming to play in Austin? They like coming to play at Q2 because the facilities are good and it's a great atmosphere and it's great energy, but people should dread it. People should absolutely not want to enter those hallowed grounds. And to have him plant that flag that definitively, music to my ears. Music to my ears.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So a couple of other things he talked about strategically. He talked about relentlessly attacking the opponent's weakest link. Sometimes it's one player, sometimes it's part of the field. But you'll see us when we did it in Philly and had a lot of success. We will relentlessly go at that weakest link. We'll use data and analytics to pinpoint it and find it. But it's pro sports. We're going to be ruthless in attacking that weakest part of the field. And there are still weaknesses in MLS. So that's a big one for me. Oh, my heart sings.
At one of the last home games before the break, you drew a very high-tech diagram for shoot from here. And I immediately thought of that when he was talking about find their weakest link and attack it. And I'm like, Jim is going to make sure that he has some tape guy up in the box watching to make the Phil West diagram and then execute on the diagram and just actually do something about it.
Right. Maybe goals get scored there. So actually that kind of transitions nicely into the 3 R's that he talked about. So he talked about the red zone, first of all. So it's the area where you connect the 6-yard box to the top of the 18. That's where 87% of goals are scored in MLS. We're going to defend that with our lives. I love this detail. You'll see it painted on all our training grounds now on the field, where that red zone is something we protect and defend with our lives. Conversely, on offense, we're going to put as many balls in other areas as possible. It's exciting for the fans. You'll see goals, good things happen when the ball is in the penalty area. Analytically, right now, I see a team in Austin that is the very bottom of penalty area entry. So that will change. That's something that's just very quickly, I think we can tweak and make some adjustments with. I mean, that's great. Like he's already looking at stats that are saying, yeah, we're not good. I mean, I've been doing articles like this for a few months, but I've been obviously powerless to do anything about it as a journalist. Here is a head coach who's coming in and saying, yeah, we are league bottom in this particular thing. We need to fix this. We are going to fix this. So that to me is amazing. And to me, I do feel, again, despite the 31 goals and the exercise that I did, I do feel like Austin does have defense in that zone that, again, sometimes it does fall apart and there are lapses. There is a conscientiousness about defending in deep, but to actually have it characterized as a red zone and to have him thinking about it in these terms and thinking in particular about statistically, these are where goals happen. You have to be mindful of this. Yeah. And that's the thing with that analysis. I mean, you saw far too many times to the tune of 31 goals. A lot of that is where stuff was breaking down in that particular area. So to me, that's definitely reassuring. He talked about rest defending, which of course is something that Estevez introduced, but he talked about simply, am I in a good position on the field to put out a fire if there's a dangerous play? So I think that's an interesting way to conceive that. And then talking about, of course, the restarts, right? So maybe it's not exciting to practice corner kicks and free kicks and throw-ins, but a big believer that goals can happen in that way. And I love what he said at the very end of this little part. It says, once we start getting assists and goals off of those free kicks and corner kicks and their statistics go up and they make a best 11 or an all-star team and the contract gets a little bit better, you'll see the players start to really, really embrace training restarts every day. Love it.
Yeah. Nothing better than a coach going, I'm going to make these players do this thing. They're going to hate it. And here's why they're going to end up loving it. They might not think they like it, but you want to get paid. Guess what? This is how you're going to get paid.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've had interesting platitudes in our two previous coaches, but again, to reiterate, to me, not with the level of pragmatism that we're seeing now, not with the prescriptive level that we are getting from Curtin about coming into this place now saying, okay, here's where it needs to be fixed. Davy, you're going to do this first part. I trust you. And then I'm going to come in and come 27. Good things are going to happen. Good things may happen in 26, but to me, I mean, how much do you care about 2026 now? Like,
I want to see Davy Arnaud beat
weird
Club
question.
America. I mean, I joked to him
that came up
as we're wrapping up. Like he said he wants to beat Club America, and I was like, well, Davy may have a chance to do it before you get here. So that was your choice, man. What I love about the potential of 2026 now is it's not that, well, it doesn't matter what happens or anything can happen. It's a certain amount of the pressure is lifted in that everybody is auditioning for their spot in some respect,
right?
Whether they want to be here or not. And everybody who is wanting out or who knows they're on the way out, well, it's time to get their transfer value up for whatever minutes they end up actually playing. And in lieu of those guys that are drawing hefty salaries, play the kids, play Irvin Torres, play Jorge Alastue, give him one of the supplemental spots with one of those international slots, and figure out what you're doing with him on the other side of the season. I want to see him fully unleashed and unshackled from whatever expectations that his former sporting director had of him and how that may have conflicted with his head coach that he played his first MLS minutes under. I want to see what happens with various bets being completely called off. I think there will be interesting opportunities for the tactical plan to change, which there is no perfect way to go, oh, that never would have happened under Estevez, or oh, that never would have happened under Burrell, because we don't know exactly where that dividing line is, as much as we'd like to think so based on some informed speculation, but that we're not looking at players having to acclimate to the new head coach is here, but play the rest of a season with the expectation of he is always watching. And do I want to go somewhere else? I got to look like I'm good enough to go somewhere else for a healthy sell-on. Or if I want that starting spot, or if I want more of those off-the-bench minutes. I think there are players that have been here for a while who may have been frustrated by The brakes going off and then the brakes going on. The brakes going off and then the brakes going on. Being a good Boy Scout, doing your job, and then somebody on the other side of the field completely being derelict in their duty, whether it's on attacking or defending or a combination of the two, or just having situational awareness in transition, which every single player on the field should be doing. I think it's going to be on the players and Davy to show what 2026 is for everybody who is eagerly anticipating Jim getting here. And I appreciate Jim positioning things as well as he did in not just saying, well, I've never seen Davy punt on anything, but making it very clear that he is the head coach. He's not serving that role until after the end of this season, but he is a constant presence as of yesterday. I think that puts the right people on watch, and it puts the right level of motivation for people seeing what we're going to have Austin building toward for 2027. And I think there will be surprises. I think there will be underestimations, and it would be nuts to underrate Austin's chances in Leagues Cup, nuts to underrate Austin's chances even headed toward the playoffs. A lot can happen. A lot can happen in the 2/3 of the season that still remains. And a proper breath of fresh air, a new set of wind in their sails is something that the Jim Curtin effect could be delivering some of the things he is promising for when he is head coach before he even sets foot here. I think that's possible based on the conversation we had with him today.
Yeah. So anything else jump out to you on this one? The one question I kind of had going into it was, how is this going to work with Davy exactly, and you not being here for 6 months? But I think that got answered pretty much to everybody's satisfaction. And then again, as we get to know him more and as we get to talk to him more, I mean, I am just interested to know kind of how this looks on the field more and more, how he evaluates individual players. As we get through the next couple of windows, we'll have a sense of who is staying, who is going, who's being brought in, what pieces need to be to complete whatever sort of puzzle that Curtin sees as being maybe mostly finished, but needing a spot here, a spot there to make it be a MLS contending team.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to look forward to. And I'm glad that Austin fans can go into the World Cup resting a bit easier than I think they did. So,
for sure.
Yeah. If y'all doubted us that Jim Curtin was under consideration, okay, keep doubting us.
Maybe the hints we dropped were too subtle, but
maybe.
Let's say you're going to be in a match in October and Austin's going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And you're going to be wearing your purple third kit, and maybe you've got a certain former Real Salt Lake, Seattle Sounder, Atlanta United sporting director being announced. I'm just saying maybe that's something that's in the works.
Let's speak to that, because Andy Loughnane, something he did say on the record talking to Moon Tower was that he very firmly believes that announcing the coach hire for Jim Curtin is something that further bolsters the sporting director search, and dancing between the raindrops, being careful about the order in which things happened in the history as it's being spoken into existence, whether the actual deal making behind the scenes is proceeding exactly that way. You look at this as a statement hire that set the rest of the league on their back heels, going, Austin is beyond serious, wouldn't have believed it was possible. You would believe that Austin wanted Jim, but could Austin get Jim? Not many people believed that. But I feel like, especially you having the track record with the club that you had, beyond what we may have picked up on background from folks, I feel like various off-mic conversations that we've had, the impression I've always had from you, from the way that you read ownership's intent from the beginning, their desires all along, their hopes for the future, for building the first decade of the club's history, was that they have been very focused on winning, very focused on being competitive. This is not a tax sink for this ownership group.
Right. Yeah.
This is the first professional sports team in Austin City history, and they mean it. And they want to put Austin on the map. They want to be a part of establishing the long-term health and viability of MLS, even when mega multinational superstars fade into retirement. They want Austin FC to be a spot on the global soccer map. That's what this feels like to me, and it's why I think the hunch that they are very seriously after Garth Lagerwey, and people would be crazy to not think that they are. This makes it seem a lot less crazy that they could land that guy.
Right, right. Yeah. And I also, I mean, to me, there's also another dimension to this. And this is, again, the way they left Columbus, kind of the circumstances of that. They want to show that they did the right thing in coming to Austin, that they can, again, because Columbus got MLS Cup, Leagues Cup wins after Precourt left, and that's somehow looming over the club as well, that they would like to, in a sense, kind of one up. Not exclusively, obviously, but I think that that is something that they have in mind. And again, you saw Betspachenko come back to the crew, so that's obviously, he's an amazing sporting director. To me, even though we were predicating a lot of the Corey Ray, Jamie McMillan stuff on the relationship with Nancy, I mean, I wonder if maybe someone like that, or maybe sporting directors that are at clubs right now, not number twos, but number ones, are in play now as a result of this. Like Lagerwey would be an incredible get, but let's say that he still wants to stay retired. Do you convince somebody like the Brain Trust in Cincinnati, or I mean, there's just other options in terms of who might you be able to wrestle away that would maybe relish the opportunity to work with Curtin and to work with ownership that is willing to spend maybe a bit more than the club you're at right now.
Jim repeated that he's a relationships guy a couple times. He said this in other interviews too. It's something he says, but it's also something that is his reputation, and that's the way that he does business, and that's why he was so successful in building what he built at Philly over a decade. Yeah, to your point, I think that whether it's they can shoot to the heights of a Lagerwey. They can shoot to the heights that they want. They can get who they want if it's doable, if they are wanting this kind of a role, because show me a sporting director worth their salt with MLS experience that doesn't have to learn the roster rules as they're going, who wouldn't want to work with Jim Curtin. Show me one. Show me one. To me, that is the looking at it from the venture capital business angle. Like, this is the FU move of, okay, you don't think we're serious? Okay. All right. What do you got to say now? And I don't know that it changes who would have already been interested, but I think it reinforces the faith and trust that those most interested and most interesting to ownership candidates, it looks like a secure investment. It looks like a horse to bet on, where you know what you're getting. You really know what you're getting. Yeah. I just wish him well packing up those 250 pairs of shoes, because that's going to be a hell of a moving job.
That was good to learn. Yeah. Size 11, by the way, if you want to contribute to his sneaker habit, which, he talked about his wife not particularly enjoying that. So his wife also not being an expert in soccer, but knowing those non-negotiables, which lets me believe that she probably knows more about soccer and enjoys soccer more than maybe he's having her let on.
Well, Phil, do we have anything else on Jim? I wanted to mention a couple things about World Cup watch parties and events and that kind of thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I think obviously our colleagues are going to be doing coverage, so definitely give them some love as well. But Verde all day, we went up by 6 p.m. tonight. Yep. So got that up and was able to, I think get what was the most kind of important, most kind of striking elements of that to me. Again, the idea of, I have this definitive sense of what this team should be, how it should play. I have these principles in operation, but I'm also being realistic. I'm not expecting to be Barcelona and tick-tocking all over the place, because you are in MLS. You don't have a true number 10, but I think the things that he was talking about this team being able to do with the personnel, with the improvements that might come, I think it's tangible. This is a guy that 1.52 points per game over more than 400 games in MLS. That's awesome consistency. Like, you were getting into home playoff hosting every year on average with that kind of record. with teams that were in some years arguably worse roster wise than Austin is now.
And that's the expectation that he set and the flag that he planted. Let's go back to the vibes just in advance of that dual firing. Do you think the Austin community would be headed into this World Cup feeling secure about the direction of their club, while other clubs that are very much in a state of disarray, which, you know, it's difficult to not classify a team as that after firing a sporting director and a coach. I don't feel like a lot of people expected this level of calm certainty, timed right before season ticket renewal emails went out, I should mention. Funny how that worked. It's almost like they know where their bread's buttered, this club. I cannot imagine the fan base of a month and a half ago, or just following the Louisville loss.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. Yeah, like I mean, this was supposed to be a painful breakup, right? Like this was, I mean, it's amazing like how quickly the club has bounced back from this dual firing.
Yeah, it's pretty great the way that things are just coming together, because now everybody can just enjoy the World Cup, because there's nothing about the World Cup that's controversial or difficult to grapple with. But all of those intangibles aside, Austin FC is hosting a couple of FanFest days down at Auditorium Shores, the same kind of setup, the same footprint, as Andy Loughnane said on Moon Tower, as their all-star activation, but instead of a live music stage, it's just one big giant screen all day Thursday and Friday, covering the time that all matches happening on either of those days are happening. So you can just stay out there all day, wear sunscreen, there'll be cover, but bring sunscreen, wear sunscreen, keep reapplying it. And then throughout the World Cup, and we'll bring this stuff up too, I know that Soccer Post has an activation set up with Meanwhile, where they're going to be set up there. Austin FC is going to be set up at In Cahoots on an ongoing basis after the Thursday, Friday. Los Verdes is teaming up on a few select watch parties across different things, so you can expect to see them popping up. I think some of those plans are still firming up, but at least some of that is coming together. So keep an eye on Los Verdes socials and, frankly, all the supporters groups, and see where people are at, where people are getting together, because you may be a real World Cup sicko and you don't feel like everybody is. So Hop Squad's going to be showing all the games, so go visit our friends at Hop Squad, tip generously, take care of Josh and the gang over there.
Isn't Tacoba coming back for some of the matches?
Tacoba is coming back because of the World Cup, which is amazing.
Yeah, nice. I remember those Mexico games. That was great. In Cahoots, by the way, two ends, so like a Holiday Inn Cahoots.
Yep.
So that is 1221 East 6.
It's over on the east side. They have a big footprint and can handle they can handle most games of most sizes.
Like Lucky Duck, Latchkey, Buenos Aires Cafe,
that kind of
stuff. Yeah, Uptown Sports Club. Yeah, okay, so it's in that sector. Like that seems to be a favorite sector of East 6th for Austin FC. Like Hotel Vegas is close to that too.
Mentioning this stuff in general, I mean, the reason I wanted to throw it out there is it's a great time to use the World Cup with all of its fraught implications and all of the bizarre visa issues. Somali referee getting his visa denied by a State Department. I don't think I'm being too political by saying I don't really trust their smell test. All of the really weird stuff about one of 3 host nations being actively at war with another one, along with another team that is competing in the same tournament for the first time in history. It's not just that this isn't normal. It's literally never happened before.
No, not normal at all.
And that bears mentioning, and it is something that is going to hang over this whole thing.
Especially if they end up playing against each other, which could happen.
Yeah.
There is a pathway.
But for the reason I bring up the variety of different places and ways that you can get out there and meet other soccer fans is that whether you're a member of a supporters group or not, or you're super way into things, or you just like going to the games, you like reading the newsletter, you like listening to the podcast, I see World Cups as great opportunities to find your people, find your crowd, find your hang space, find your spot. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I don't go to the tavern. It's too crowded. Happy watching at home. But I fell in with other Arsenal fans in the years before I got to Austin and keep in touch and text various friends, and I'm in different social media chats with different people and that sort of thing. But now that I'm in a city that's got its own club, as big and imposing as that stadium might feel being in it and not knowing anybody in it, this is a great time to hang out with people, find people you're comfortable with, and find a version of the Austin scene that works for you. There are more than enough opportunities to do so. So I'd encourage you to go out there.
Yeah, so many good stories. So many, obviously, you're gonna see fans of nationalities that you did not think that you would see necessarily in your hometown. But yeah, it's a magical time.
I love seeing the way that Lawrence, Kansas has embraced Algeria. And if Lawrence, Kansas, ancestral home of U.S. soccer, according to some, just like many places in the Midwest, if they put Algeria over the top, we will have Lawrence, Kansas to thank. Be the Lawrence, Kansas you want to be.
This is the best thing I've heard in the history of the 8 years I've been on this planet.